I denied you before you were born, Nathaniel Blackwood said, his voice carrying through the silent great hall. Please let me earn the right to call you my son. 6-year-old Noah Carter stood beneath the silver banners of Blackridge with one hand wrapped around his mother's fingers. Before him, the most feared Alpha King in the Northern Territories rested on both knees against the cold marble floor. Nathaniel had surrendered the ancient power that once forced every pack to obey him, but he had not abandoned his duty to the kingdom. His crown lay several feet behind him, placed there by choice before he approached the child he had failed. Hundreds of wolves watched without speaking. Council members, healers, guards, and representatives from distant packs filled the hall, yet Evelyn heard only the uneven rhythm of her own breathing. Noah studied Nathaniel with gray-blue eyes that carried the same quiet intensity as his father's. Kings do not beg, he said. A faint tremor passed through Nathaniel's shoulders, but he did not rise. Then I am not speaking to you as a king. Evelyn felt Noah's grip tighten. 6 years of hiding, healing, and protecting him had led them back to the place she had sworn never to enter again. The black pillars had not changed. Cedar smoke still drifted beneath the vaulted ceiling, and the silver moon remained carved into the floor. Once, Evelyn had stood upon that symbol while carrying Noah beneath her heart, asking Nathaniel to trust the bond between them. He had chosen a sealed document over her voice. He had ordered Mason Reed to find her before dawn, but by sunrise, every record of her route had been erased by people inside his own council. That truth explained his failure. It did not excuse it. Nathaniel lifted his eyes to Evelyn. Regret had changed him, but it had not erased the years she had survived without him. I believed a lie, he said, but believing it was still my choice. I let pride speak when I should have listened to you. Murmurs moved through the gathered packs. Evelyn did not look away. An apology cannot return the years you lost, she said. I know. Nathaniel placed one hand over his heart. I will not ask either of you to forget. I will not claim Noah by force, and I will not use the throne to decide his future. I am asking for the chance to prove that I can become better than the man who failed you. Noah glanced up at Evelyn before facing Nathaniel again. Then start by listening to my mother. At that moment, silver light appeared beneath the collar of Noah's shirt. The crown moon mark awakened over his heart, bright enough for every wolf in the hall to see. A matching glow spread through the ancient carving beneath his feet. One by one, the gathered alphas lowered their heads, not because Nathaniel commanded them, but because the kingdom recognized its true heir. Evelyn looked at her son and understood that the throne had found him. Whether it would ever possess him was a choice she intended to protect. 6 years earlier, Evelyn entered the Blackridge Great Hall with one hand resting over the child she had carried for 7 months. Nathaniel already knew she was expecting. That evening was meant to be their formal announcement before the council, the moment their unborn child would be recognized as the future heir of Blackridge. A narrow white ribbon circled Evelyn's wrist, the traditional symbol worn by an expecting royal mate. She had imagined Nathaniel standing beside her beneath the silver banners, perhaps allowing the smallest smile when the council bowed. Instead, he waited near the moon throne with his expression closed and Victoria held beside him. A sealed document lay on the council table. The moment Evelyn saw it, unease moved through the bond between her and Nathaniel. What happened? She asked. Nathaniel did not answer at once. Victoria stepped forward, wearing concern as carefully as jewelry. The independent healer completed the bloodline test. Evelyn looked at Nathaniel. What test? Victoria placed the document before him. The child does not carry the Blackwood line. Silence spread through the hall. Evelyn stared at the royal seal, then at the council members who would not meet her eyes. No healer examined me, she said. A sample was taken from the cup you used during the Moon Council banquet, Victoria replied. The result was confirmed twice. Nathaniel opened the document. His jaw tightened as he read. Evelyn felt his wolf stir through their bond, restless and confused. She crossed the distance between them. Look at me. You know this child is yours. The evidence bears the royal seal, he said. A seal can be stolen. Records can be changed. She held out her hand. Our bond cannot lie. Nathaniel looked at her fingers, but he did not take them. The council watched him, measuring whether their king would choose his mate or the authority of the throne. Pride settled over his face like ice. I cannot ignore verified evidence because of what I want to believe. Evelyn's voice softened. Then do not believe what you want. Believe what you know. For one heartbeat, his control nearly broke. Then Victoria whispered, Your Majesty, the kingdom is waiting. Nathaniel turned toward the council. Evelyn Carter, I release you from the Blackwood bond and remove you from this court until the truth of the child's bloodline is beyond dispute. The severing bond tore through Evelyn with sudden force. Her knees weakened, and the child moved sharply beneath her heart. She remained standing. If you learn the truth one day, she said, remember that I gave you the chance to trust me. Nathaniel ordered that she be escorted beyond the northern gate before nightfall. Only after the doors closed did his wolf surge against him with two unmistakable words. Our pup. Nathaniel immediately turned to Mason Reed. Find her. Bring her back safely before dawn. But by sunrise, every stable record had vanished. Every road witness had changed a story, and someone inside the council had erased Evelyn's trail before Mason could follow it. The northern gate closed behind Evelyn before sunset, and the sound followed her into the storm like a final judgment. Snow covered the road in thick, white sheets, erasing the tracks beneath her boots almost as quickly as she made them. She had carried Noah for 7 months, but the severed bond had left her body trembling, and each step through the freezing wind sent another sharp warning through her. One hand held her cloak closed. The other rested over the child beneath her. Heart, stay with me, she whispered. I will find somewhere safe. She did not know that Victoria had already sent a trusted rider after her, a man carrying the private silver rose used by those loyal to the council faction. His orders were not to harm Evelyn. They were to make certain she never reached another pack with proof that the royal test had been false. When hoofbeats sounded behind her, Evelyn left the main road and followed a narrow trail into the pines. Low branches caught her sleeves and left pale marks across her wrists, but she did not stop. The child moved again, too early and too urgently. By midnight, the pain came in waves. Evelyn reached an abandoned hunting cabin nearly 8 miles from the northern border and tried the door, but the lock had frozen shut. Her strength failed on the porch. Before fear could take hold, a lantern appeared between the trees. An older woman approached through the snow, carrying a medical bag beneath a heavy wool coat. My name is Grace Miller, she said, taking one look at Evelyn's white ribbon and frightened face. You are coming with me. Grace lived less than half a mile away in a cedar house warmed by a stone fireplace. She asked no questions until Evelyn was wrapped in blankets with warm tea between her hands. Then she examined her carefully and frowned. The bond was severed suddenly, Grace said. The shock and the cold have brought the child too early. Evelyn looked toward the dark window. Can he survive? Grace placed a steady hand over hers. He has already survived more than most children ever should. Labor began before dawn. Wind pressed against the walls while Grace guided Evelyn through every frightened breath. When the baby finally arrived, he was small and silent. Evelyn gathered him close, pressing her palm over his chest. Please, she whispered. Warmth rose from somewhere deep within her and flowed through her hand like sunlight beneath water. Golden light filled the room. The baby inhaled, then cried with a strength that made Grace close her eyes in relief. Outside, wolves across the valley lifted their voices toward the moon. A silver crescent appeared above the child's heart, and within it rested a tiny crown. Grace stared at the mark. The first heir of Blackridge. Evelyn held him closer. His name is Noah Carter. Beyond the frost-covered window, Victoria's rider watched the golden light fade. He turned toward the palace, carrying news that the child had lived and that the old prophecy had awakened. 6 years passed before Evelyn saw the black towers of Blackridge again. By then, Noah had grown into a bright, observant boy with her kindness and Nathaniel's quiet intensity. Evelyn had built a life among the western settlements, where families knew her as the healer whose hands could calm fever and restore strength when ordinary remedies failed. She had kept Noah far from royal roads, silver banners, and every story connected to the Blackwood throne. Grace Miller had helped them move whenever unfamiliar riders asked too many questions. Evelyn believed distance would protect her son. Then the silver sickness reached Blackridge. Omega children began falling into a deep sleep beneath the full moon, and the royal healers could not wake them. Grace brought the request to Evelyn's kitchen table and waited while she read it. You do not have to return, Grace said. Evelyn looked across the room at Noah, who was wrapping dried herbs in brown paper for a neighbor. Those children should not suffer because I am afraid of their king. They traveled east in Grace's plain clinic wagon, pulled by a chestnut mare. Every official document listed them only as traveling healers from Miller House. Evelyn kept her hood low and warned Noah not to reveal the mark above his heart. Not even if someone asks politely, he said. Especially then. Blackridge had changed during their absence. New stone buildings lined the capital streets, but the crowned wolf still watched from every tower. Families crowded outside the healing hall, holding sleeping children beneath wool blankets. The sight reminded Evelyn why she had returned. They were crossing the market square when a royal carriage entered through the western arch. Merchants stepped aside at once. A frightened wolf pup slipped from a produce cart and wandered into the carriage path. Noah moved before Evelyn could call his name. He lifted the pup and carried it safely toward the fountain as the carriage stopped several feet away. Its door opened. Nathaniel Blackwood stepped into the winter sunlight. 6 years had sharpened his features and placed shadows beneath his gray-blue eyes. He still carried the presence of a king, but Evelyn sensed something restless beneath it. Nathaniel had spent years searching for the woman Mason had failed to find, following records that always disappeared before they revealed enough. Now his gaze settled on Noah. The boy stood calmly with the pup in his arms. Nathaniel approached and rested one hand on Noah's shoulder. The instant they touched, both of them stopped breathing. Far above the market, a dark fissure split across the royal moonstone, the first crack to mark its surface in centuries. Silver light flashed through the highest palace window, and the sound rolled over the city like distant thunder. Nathaniel's wolf surged with recognition. Noah looked up at him, confusion widening his eyes. "I know you," he whispered. Evelyn hurried forward and drew back her hood. Nathaniel saw her face, and every trace of royal composure left his own. Before either of them could speak, Noah turned toward him and said one word in the oldest language of their kind, a word Evelyn had never taught him. "Father." Nathaniel did not move. The market noise seemed to fade until only Noah's single word remained between them. Evelyn reached her son first and drew him gently against her side. "You do not know this man," she said, although her voice did not carry the certainty she wanted. Noah looked from her to Nathaniel. "Then why does he feel familiar?" Nathaniel's gaze stayed fixed on the boy. His wolf pressed against his control, not with anger, but with recognition so powerful that his hands began to tremble. "How old is he?" Evelyn lifted her chin. "That is none of your concern." "Evelyn." Her name sounded different in his voice now, stripped of royal command, and weighted with 6 years of unanswered questions. "Please. How old is he?" She thought of walking away. Then she saw the sleeping children being carried into the healing hall and remembered why. She had returned. "He turned 6 this winter." The answer struck Nathaniel visibly. He counted the months in silence, and realization settled across his face. Noah held the rescued pup closer. "Mother, is he the king?" "Yes." "Is he also my father?" Evelyn's breath tightened. She had prepared herself for that question through countless quiet nights, but never beneath royal banners with half the market watching. "We will speak about it somewhere private." Nathaniel dismissed the crowd and offered them a consultation room inside the healing hall instead of ordering them to the palace. Evelyn noticed the choice. Years ago, he would have expected obedience. Now he waited for permission before following them inside. Noah placed the pup in a basket near the fireplace while Evelyn examined its paw. Nathaniel remained several feet away, as if he understood that one careless step might send her back through the city gates. "I want a bloodline test," he said. Evelyn's hands became still. "No, if he is my son, I need to know. You needed to know 6 years ago, when I stood before you and told the truth." Nathaniel lowered his eyes. "You are right." The simple admission unsettled her more than an argument would have. "I will not take him from you," he continued. "I will not use the throne to claim him. You already chose the throne over him once." Noah looked between them, sensing the pain hidden beneath every careful word. Nathaniel's wolf stirred again, filling the room with restless energy. The pup whimpered from its basket. Noah crossed the space between them without fear and placed one small hand against Nathaniel's wrist. "Please calm down," he said. "You are frightening him." The pressure vanished instantly. Nathaniel stared at the boy. No one outside the royal bloodline had ever quieted his wolf with a touch. Evelyn stepped forward to guide Noah back, and her sleeve shifted. Pale scars crossed her wrist, remnants of frozen branches and the desperate escape through the forest. Nathaniel saw them. What happened after you left? Evelyn pulled the fabric down. A rider carrying Victoria's silver rose followed me beyond the northern road. He tried to force me back, toward Blackridge before I could reach another pack. Nathaniel's expression hardened, but his voice remained quiet. I never sent him. I know, Evelyn said. But someone close to your throne did, and they knew my child had survived. Mason Reed arrived at the healing hall before sunrise, carrying a weathered ledger beneath his coat. He looked as though he had not slept, but there was something steadier than exhaustion in his expression. I have been following this trail for 6 years, he said. Nathaniel took the ledger while Evelyn stood near the window with Noah beside her. Mason explained that Nathaniel had ordered him to find Evelyn the night she was cast out. By morning, the stable records had vanished, the Northern Road reports had been rewritten, and every witness had suddenly remembered a different story. Mason had never stopped searching. He had collected fragments over the years, but Noah's return had finally revealed the missing connection. Inside the ledger were the original bloodline test, private payments to a royal healer, and letters bearing Victoria Hale's silver rose. The true result named Nathaniel Blackwood as the father of Evelyn's unborn child. Another document described an old prophecy about a healer Omega and a royal heir whose combined gifts could break the council's control over the northern packs. Nathaniel read every page in silence. His fingers tightened around the ledger, but when he spoke, his voice was controlled. They knew the child was mine. Mason nodded. Victoria and 3 senior council members believed Noah would weaken their authority. They used your pride to remove him before he was born. Noah leaned closer to Evelyn. He did not understand every detail, but he understood that powerful people had feared him before they had ever seen his face. Nathaniel looked at his son, and shame settled across his features. Bring the council to the moon chamber, he said. They will answer under the same law they claim to protect. By noon, the original record had been read before the royal court. The 3 elders were removed from office and placed under house arrest until a formal trial could begin. Nathaniel did not threaten them. He did not raise his voice. You created the lie, he told them. But I chose to believe it. That failure belongs to me. Evelyn watched from the rear of the chamber. The admission mattered, but it did not erase the snow, the fear, or the 6 years Noah had spent without a father. When the room emptied, Nathaniel approached her slowly. I was deceived, he said, but cruelty was still my choice. Yes, Evelyn answered. You do not get to hide behind what they did. I will not. He removed the royal signet from his hand and placed it on the table. When the silver sickness is stopped, you may leave Blackridge with Noah. No guard will follow you. No law will be used to keep him here. I will not claim him by force. Noah looked up. Even if I am the heir? Nathaniel lowered himself until they were eye to eye. Being my son does not make you my possession. Before Evelyn could respond, the palace bells rang 3 times. Mason rushed back into the chamber with a folded note marked by a silver rose. The message revealed that the sickness had been bound to the city's water system through the cracked royal moonstone. As long as the throne still carried command power, the spell could travel through every fountain in Blackridge. Beneath that warning was a single demand. Bring me the heir before moonrise, or every Omega child in the capital will fall asleep and never wake again. By sunset, every fountain in Blackridge had turned silver. The water shimmered beneath the fading light, beautiful enough to deceive anyone who did not understand the spell moving through it. Each drop carried the silver sickness, traveling from the cracked royal moonstone through the command bond that connected the throne to every district in the capital. Evelyn worked beside Grace in the crowded healing hall, using herbs and the warmth in her hands to keep the sleeping Omega children stable, while Nathaniel ordered every well sealed. Noah remained in a guarded room nearby. At least, that was what Evelyn believed until she found his wooden wolf lying beside an open wall panel. The window was still locked. One of the guards stood outside, pale with confusion. A palace attendant showed us. An old council seal, he said. She claimed you had summoned Noah downstairs. Mason examined the hidden opening behind the wall. It led into an abandoned passage once used by senior council members to reach the moonstone tunnels without crossing the public halls. A silver rose rested on the floor. Nathaniel arrived moments later and looked at Noah's abandoned toy. His face became perfectly still. Victoria knew the passage, Mason said. One of the arrested elders must have given her the seal. Another message waited inside the tunnel. Victoria had taken Noah to the old Moonstone sanctuary, nearly 12 miles north of the capital. She demanded that Nathaniel bring the royal moonstone before midnight. In exchange, she promised to release the child and end the spell. She does not want the stone, Nathaniel said. She wants the command power inside it. With Noah's mark and the throne's authority, she could force every pack to obey her. Mason began gathering the royal guard, but Nathaniel stopped him. An army will frighten her into using Noah before we reach the sanctuary. Evelyn faced him. Then what will you do? Nathaniel looked toward the highest palace tower. Make certain there is no power left for her to steal. They entered the moonstone chamber together. A dark fissure crossed the ancient stone, the same crack that had appeared when Nathaniel first touched Noah in the market. Silver energy moved beneath its surface like trapped lightning. Nathaniel placed both hands against it. If I release the command bond, I will remain king, he said, but the throne will never again compel obedience. Every pack will be free to choose whether it follows me. 6 years earlier, he had chosen authority over trust. Now he surrendered control without asking what it would cost him. Do it, Evelyn whispered. The light rose around Nathaniel, passed through him, and scattered into the evening sky. Across Blackridge, the spell lost its source. The silver taint vanished from every fountain, and the sleeping children began to breathe more easily. Nathaniel traveled to the sanctuary without a crown or royal escort. Evelyn and Mason followed through the forest at a distance. Inside the ruined sanctuary, Noah stood within a circle of pale light, while Victoria struggled to awaken a power that no longer answered her. Nathaniel stepped forward. Let him go. The command bond is gone. Victoria stared at him. You surrendered control of a kingdom for one child? Nathaniel looked only at Noah. I surrendered control because he is my son. The circle faded. Noah ran toward him, then stopped within reach, uncertainty passing across his face. You came for me, he said. Nathaniel lowered himself until they were eye to eye. I should have come for you 6 years ago. From this day forward, I will never choose the throne over you again. Noah slowly placed his hand in Nathaniel's, and for the first time, he did not pull away. Evelyn entered the sanctuary just as Noah placed his hand in Nathaniel's. Relief moved through her so sharply that she had to steady herself against the stone doorway. Noah turned at once. Mother! He released Nathaniel and ran to her, and Evelyn gathered him close, checking his face, his hands, every breath. He was frightened, but he was safe. Victoria stood beside the empty altar, staring at the faded circle beneath her feet. This changes nothing, she said. The boy still carries the crown moon. She lifted the silver rose, trying to summon the sanctuary's ancient power, but the symbols remained dark. Nathaniel had broken the command bond, and the throne could no longer answer her. Still, a faint light began gathering around Noah, drawn not by Victoria's authority, but by the mark over his heart. Evelyn stepped between them. Warmth rose through her palms as she shielded her son. You have taken enough from him. Noah touched her arm. You do not have to protect me alone. The crescent above his heart appeared through his shirt, bright as moonlight across fresh snow. Behind him, the shape of a white wolf formed from silver light. It carried no anger. Its stillness was deeper than fear, and its presence filled the sanctuary with quiet authority. Mason entered with the royal guard, but before anyone could kneel, Noah spoke. No one should bow because they are afraid. The pressure in the room disappeared. The wolves remained standing by choice. Victoria looked at the child she had spent years fearing and finally understood why the prophecy had never promised a stronger ruler. It had promised a gentler one. Mason took her into custody under the law, and Nathaniel gave no order beyond ensuring she received a fair trial. By the following evening, representatives from every northern pack filled the great hall of Blackridge. Elder Samuel Brooks confirmed the crown moon mark and named Noah the true heir, but Evelyn remained beside her son, determined that recognition would never become ownership. Nathaniel entered without using Alpha Command. His crown rested in his hands until he placed it several feet behind him. Then he approached Noah and lowered himself onto both knees before the entire kingdom. I denied you before you were born, Nathaniel said, his voice carrying through the silent great hall. Please let me earn the right to call you my son. Noah studied him with gray blue eyes that held more caution than any 6-year-old should have needed. Kings do not beg. A faint tremor moved through Nathaniel's shoulders, but he did not rise. Then I am not speaking to you as a king. Evelyn felt Noah's fingers tighten around hers. Nathaniel looked at her next. I believed a lie, but believing it was still my choice. I let pride speak when I should have listened to you. Evelyn held his gaze. An apology cannot return the years you lost. I know. I will not claim Noah by force, and I will not use the throne to decide his future. I am asking for the chance to prove that I can become better than the man who failed you. Noah glanced up at Evelyn before facing Nathaniel again. Then start by listening to my mother. Silver light appeared beneath his collar. The crown moon mark awakened over his heart, and a matching glow spread through the ancient carving beneath his feet. One by one, the gathered alphas lowered their heads, not because Nathaniel commanded them, but because the kingdom recognized its true heir. Evelyn looked at her son and understood that the throne had found him. Whether it would ever possess him was a choice she intended to protect. 3 months later, the first law bearing Evelyn Carter's name was read aloud in every pack across the Northern Territories. No Omega could be rejected, displaced, or separated from a child without an independent hearing, qualified healers, and the right to speak before judgment was passed. Nathaniel signed the decree as king, but the throne no longer carried the power to force obedience. Every pack followed the new law because its leaders had chosen to accept it, and Nathaniel understood that freely given respect was stronger than any command. Evelyn did not return to the palace as Luna. She chose a cedar house near the edge of Blackridge, close enough for Noah to attend lessons at the Royal Academy, and far enough that their home still belonged to them. Nathaniel came only when invited. At first, he arrived with expensive gifts and carefully prepared speeches. Evelyn accepted neither. Then he began to understand that regret was not proven through silver boxes or public promises. He stopped bringing gifts and started bringing library books Noah had asked for. He learned that his son disliked polished shoes, loved cinnamon pancakes, and asked his most difficult questions just before bedtime. Nathaniel answered every one, even when the truth exposed the man he had once been. Noah was not immediately named the next king. Evelyn insisted that he be allowed to choose his future when he was old enough to understand the weight of a crown. Nathaniel agreed before the full council. He is my son before he is my heir, he said. The words traveled farther than any alpha command ever had. Spring reached Blackridge slowly. The last children affected by the silver sickness woke beneath warm sunlight, and the healing hall became a permanent sanctuary for families from every rank. Evelyn trained new healers there, including Omegas whose gifts had once been dismissed as weak. Nathaniel often listened from the back of the room without interrupting. One rainy evening, Noah woke from a nightmare and called for his mother. Evelyn reached his bedroom and found Nathaniel already seated beside the bed, holding a lantern while Noah struggled to steady his breathing. Nathaniel used no royal authority and offered no empty assurance. He simply stayed. I dreamed you left again, Noah whispered. Nathaniel lowered his voice. I cannot change the years I missed, but leaving will never be my choice again. Noah studied him for a long moment, searching for something only a child could recognize. Then he reached for Nathaniel's hand. Stay until I fall asleep, Dad. Nathaniel closed his eyes as though the single word had reached a place no crown ever could. Always, he answered. Noah soon drifted to sleep with his hand resting between theirs. Evelyn remained beside the bed while rain moved softly across the roof. Nathaniel looked at her, but made no attempt to cross the distance between them. He had learned that love could not be claimed. It had to be welcomed. You stayed, Evelyn said. He needed me. So did I once. Nathaniel lowered his eyes. I know. The silence between them no longer felt empty. Evelyn placed her hand over Noah's, then rested her fingers lightly against Nathaniel's. Hope passed across his face, but he did not mistake it for absolution. This is not forgiveness, she whispered. I know. It is a beginning. Outside, moonlight spread across the rain-soaked grass, turning every drop into silver. Noah slept safely between them, loved without condition. Nathaniel had once believed strength meant never kneeling, never doubting, and never surrendering control. Now he understood that true strength was gentle enough to listen, humble enough to change, and patient enough to earn its way home. Thank you so much for staying with us until the very end of this story. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What was your favorite moment, and what message or lesson did you take away from Evelyn and Nathaniel's journey? Share your opinion in the comments below and join the conversation with fellow story lovers. If you enjoyed this tale, please give the video a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Alpha's Regret Stories. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next exciting story filled with romance, drama, betrayal, and unforgettable twists. See you in the next story.